If your crawl space is in complete disarray, full of mold, full of moisture, full of standing water, like many homes in America, and you're not quite sure whether you should hire a contractor to tackle this project for you, or maybe you're considering doing it yourself, take a look at this video. I sit down with George out of New York, and he helped answer some basic questions like, why did he decide to invest his time and money in fixing his crawl space? How hard is crawl space encapsulation for one person to accomplish? How long did it take? He actually kept track of the hours it took to do his crawl space. And of course, what did he notice whenever the project was complete? This is some great information to help you decide whether you want to tackle this project yourself or have someone like Crawl Space Ninja take care of this project for you. Why did you decide to do this project yourself?
I didn't know much about the crawl space. I thought whatever was down there was fine and in the way it was. But then one day the waistline of the house that goes to the actual septic system, and that particular pipe busted. So for months, I didn't know that had busted. And my wife kept telling me, and she got a good sense of smell. And I kept telling her, nah, that's probably the vent pipes from bathrooms and the vent pipe from the jacuzzi or the vent pipe from the washer dryer. And she says, no, for months this has been going on. So one day I decided to go down there to look, and I saw the pipe bursting, and I had to go get some flood gear and go underneath there with some rubber boots because it was flooded with water. And I identified where the problem was, and I went and fixed that problem. So now I said, okay, I'll clean out this plastic because now the whole crawl space had a lot of waste. And, the stuff that comes out of waste. It was all dripping oil, and it was all over the crawl space. And then during the summertime in 2023, I had a gallstone. So I had to go to the hospital. And when that happened, the main water line bursted. So now you have the other side of water filled the whole entire crawl space. So we shut it off. We had somebody come over and fix it and put the water line back in place. So I said, okay, I'll take care of that. Let me start looking at what I could do to fix this entire space because it is a mess. It was water, plastic, crap all over the poly that was existing there. And it wasn't even properly covered, but I thought that's the way it's supposed to be until I started looking online and seeing the spaces that you had and the work that you guys are showing on there. I said, okay, so this is something I could take on. So I started looking at what I needed, what the work entails, how much effort it takes. Is it specialized knowledge that you need? And I'll tell you one thing, all the information that you had online helped me to make the decision to say, you know what, this is something I can do because now I knew exactly what to do and I followed the directions exactly as it was. You clear it out, you drop the space, and then you apply the cleaner, the protectant, fix it up, reseal everything. And then from that point, I started fixing it.
That's great.
And now it's a pleasure going down there. It's unbelievable.
Obviously, I don't know your wife, but I can imagine the I told you so.
Yeah,
that you kind of heard.
Pretty much. That's exactly. She has a really good sense of smell. It's like, don't you smell that? I don't smell anything. Everything is good.
You sound like you're a pretty handy guy. You can do a lot of different things. On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you say this project would rank at?
I would say a 9.
A 9?
Yeah. For one person, yes, a 9.
And you have a background of fixing things. So this wasn't like, this is my first DIY project.
No. Did you see the last video I sent you where I identified the gutter spouts? It shows a porch. That porch used to only be a 10-foot platform. So I built that entire porch, and it had to be done in 3 years because the first year was the foundation, and then the second year was the structure, and then the third year was making it look pretty. The other one was I had a septic problem where the septic tank collapsed. So I had bought the house on what they call infiltrator systems. So what it is like a giant half pipe where you would just take out all your pipe and gravel, and you would just drop in that plastic from the septic system, and all the affluent water that comes from the septic will go right back into the land. You never have to worry about pipe and gravel. And I did the septic, the whole tank, the infiltrators, and the resurfacing it. That was another big undertaking, but those are the 2 major projects I did, and now this one.
I just like to bring that up because I did a video a while back. The worst thing a DIYer can do is start the project and not finish it. And I think that people go into this without their eyes wide open. And for somebody like you who's built a front porch from scratch and who's redone their septic system, to call this a 9 out of 10 difficulty, I just think that puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Now, granted, not everybody's got a flooded bunch of poop in their crawl space that you
Right,
had to
right,
deal with. But even after that, it was still difficult, I would assume, even after you got all
yeah.
that corrected.
The other challenge was that you have to have a good back, because I only had, 3.5, 4 feet of space underneath there. And the whole entire time I was on knee pads. And after a while, the knee pads that I had were pretty good, solid knee pads with the gel. After, I think, about the second month, because I was doing this on weekends and some hours after work, whatever it was, the knee pads started to feel like it was just hard surface. So I had another set of knee pads that were slightly a little bit more foam on it, but it wasn't designed for that type of work. So I put those on, then I put the secondary knee pads, and then I was golden, back on track.
Speaking of timeline, give us a little bit of idea from start to finish. I know you said you worked on it part-time, but how long did this project take you?
145 hours. I was documenting. Every time I went down there, it's kind of like I would punch in a clock, and I would document how many hours I spent underneath the house. You do 145 hours, one person at $30 an hour. It's a pretty penny that I saved in labor costs.
So 145 hours divided by 8 hours a day, that's a little over an 18-day project.
Right.
Right
But
there.
for me, it was like an hour here, 2 hours there, 6 hours there, 7 hours there. And then you have the in-between time that you want to spend time with your family. So that's what I did.
Well, and to put that, you just mentioned $30 an hour. You saved yourself $4,350 based on that hourly rate. But let's talk about that timeline for just a second. How big was your crawl space again?
1,104 feet.
That was total crawl space
Yeah,
size.
yeah.
All right. So to put that in perspective for a homeowner, let's forget about the sewage clean out that you had to accomplish. A crawl space ninja crew probably would have got that done in 3 days or less. So if you're somebody who's willing to go 145 hours spread over 6 months.
No, I actually started Labor Day and I finished it about a week before Thanksgiving.
So first week of September through the third week of November.
Right.
Well, that's great information, because I'm telling you, I just want people to be prepared. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying go in this thing with your eyes wide open. And if you don't have 145 hours to spare, strong back, the knowledge through our YouTube videos or however you get the knowledge, then you might want to hire somebody to do it. Or maybe you're somebody who needs it done very quickly because of air quality problems.
Right, exactly. You need the tools, the equipment, the hazmats, all that stuff. Because, I took several trips to Home Depot to pick up things that I couldn't get at the DIY store.
What amazed you most when you were done? Did you notice anything that was like, wow?
You see, nobody in my family has gone down there. Actually, nobody. I'm the only one, because nobody wants to go down there. But when I show my family the pictures of the before and after, they're pretty much amazed. They say, wow, this is incredible. But it doesn't do the justice unless you go down there and see. The temperature right now outside, it's about 28, 32 degrees. Underneath the house is currently at 53. So it's pretty warm down there.
I was getting ready to ask you if you could compare inside the home this year versus inside the home last year. Can you tell a difference in comfort?
I could, because the house usually stays at about 68 degrees. And when it gets to that point, that's when I turn on my wood burning stove. It's a pellet stove. So once I turn that on, it heats up the entire house pretty good. Then I don't have any insulation in the joists anymore, because I have the poly and the insul barriers around the block walls. So the house has been good. There's no more smell coming from underneath the house, which was a big plus for my wife. So she's happy with that.